And a TGIF for the first time in 2025. Welcome into the First Call Podcast. Jeremy Plonk alongside my longtime partner, Jeff Siegel. Jeff, we're ready to run it back for a new year. First podcast of the new season here for us on First Call for new folks to the podcast. We're going to handicap 8 stakes races today for the upcoming weekend, all of them on Saturday this weekend, many with a 3-year-old flavor.
Yeah, I looked at the 3-year-old races, and I thought it would be apropos to dive in on some of those. Those will carry a lot of interest. We've got a good race out here in California. We've got some good races in the Midwest and even in New York. So 3-year-olds will be in the spotlight here trying to make some money. And I think we've got a chance in some cases to do just that. So we'll go over these races and maybe we can help you pick a winner.
Well, you made my work easy. I just debuted the Countdown to the Crown series today for the 20th season and handicapped all 5 of these races already. So you didn't send me in for any extra legwork this week. So I always appreciate that somewhat. Be sure to go to countdowntothecrown.com to get my written analysis of some of these races, historical stats and trends as well. Jeff and I are going to give you a good video look of some key workouts, some prep races, things like that for the handicapping this weekend. For the benefit of those of you on our audio podcast channels, here are the 8 races Jeff and I are about to line up for the weekend. We'll talk about the Jerome Stakes first up Saturday at Aqueduct. To Gulfstream on Saturday, the 3-year-old Colts and the Mucho Macho Man, the fillies on turf in the Ginger Brew. To Oaklawn, we'll go to the Mockingbird Stakes and the Smarty Jones kickoff leg there to the Arkansas Derby Series. Out west to Santa Anita for the 7-furlong San Vicente, where some really highly thought of 3-year-olds are in that one. The Las Flores for the Sprint fillies also on the card. And at Turfway Park, they'll start the road to the Jeff Ruby with the Turfway preview. Some interesting colts in that one going over the Tapeta surface. Want to remind you, if you're playing Santa Anita this weekend, be sure to take advantage of our 2 million first rewards hit and split. If you hit the late pick 4 on Saturday at Santa Anita, you'll share 2 million first rewards points just with other players on the First Bet and Express Bet platforms who also take down the late pick 4. So be sure to do that. First rewards points can be redeemed for things like wagering credits into your account, first and foremost. Also swag in the gift shop, handicapping products, and more. So be sure to opt into all the promotions when you play with First Bet and Express Bet this weekend. For those of you watching on our audio channels on X and YouTube, be sure to like, share this out, comment in the comment section, help us grow the audience. Jeff, let's get things started here for the weekend. We're going to go to Aqueduct for the first of our stakes races, the Jerome. This is, interestingly, from trivia, the second oldest stakes race in America, they say, only to the Travers Stakes, the Jerome Stakes, named for the founder of Jerome Park, one of the racetracks in the Bronx way back in the heyday. So the Jerome Stakes for many years was not a Triple Crown prep race. It was a fall race. In fact, it started out as a 2-mile race, Jeff. It's now just half of what it used to be in that terms. It's a 1-turn mile. But several years ago, it was moved early in the schedule on the NYRA calendar to be a prep towards the Gotham, towards the Wood, and the big races in New York for the Triple Crown Series. So let's start things off in the Jerome Stakes, race number 8, going a mile here. Who do you like amongst this field of 8?
Well, of the several 3-year-old races we'll be handicapping on the show, this was my least favorite, just because I really couldn't get a grip on it. I ended up with Studley Do Right. Yeah, I had to pick somebody, so I picked him, but I don't have a great feel for him, and he's had a lot of chances now, 7 races, so I think we pretty much know what he is. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, he's not a bad colt for sure. First or second, 5 out of 7 times. He's got he's got 1 number 2 races back in the Nashua that was pretty good, but the other ones are kind of average. And the rest of these look like they're in various stages of development, lightly racing, eligible to step forward on a moment's notice. So I don't really have a great feel for this one. I have a much stronger opinion on some of the other races. But Studley Do Right at least has a stakes win over this track at this distance. And he did it with an 86 Beyer number, which is good enough to win if he can run back to it. He's got a nice stalking style. He doesn't really have a great turn of foot. He's kind of more of a grinder than anything else. But I'll give him credit for being reasonably relentless. He sticks to his task. He tries hard. So that counts for something. So if he were to run back to his national win 2 races back, I think he probably can win this one. But from a gambling standpoint, at 5-2 on the morning line, not terribly enticing for me. Maybe you have a stronger opinion one way or the other.
Well, I'm like you. I kind of defaulted into him in this race because I don't like any of the risers. Nobody just kind of looks like they're on the cusp of a really big race amongst those horses who are bubbling up from underneath the stakes ranks. And he's proven goods, like you said. Look, he's not a superstar. I mean, he ran well in the Tremont. He ran well in the National. He's based at Laurel for Jerry Robb of Little Bull John fame way back in the day. This horse knows every bump in the road on I-95, Jeff. I can guarantee you that. He's going, I believe this is like his 4th or 5th trip to New York now. So Studley Do Right, he won the National, like you said, over the trip and distance, and that just might be good enough.
Top of the stretch with a quarter mile left to go. They've got to catch Tony Eclipse, who hugs the rail, kicks for home. It's hammer time with full momentum down the center of the racetrack, and here comes It's Hammer Time. Studley Do Right is in the fight as well, and Vekoma rides. They're still chasing Tony Eclipse at the rail. 4 of them across the racetrack here in the Nashua. It's still Tony Eclipse there. Studley Do Right. Vekoma rides trying to pick him up. In between horses, Studley Do Right. Studley Do Right wins the Nashua. Studley Do Right wins it. Then came a photo.
And you're talking milers, you're looking for brilliance, not grinders. But again, there just doesn't seem to be anybody brilliant in here. The challenges probably come from Cyclone State and ICANN coming out of the same race. McAfee's a horse who's getting some hype because of his name, the association to Pat McAfee, and he's not associated with McAfee in terms of any ownership, but named after the famed sportscaster. And so there's some hype behind him, but, I don't know. He was just okay in his 2 starts to me. He hasn't done anything breathtaking. ICANN, maybe the horse who's got the most upside after a troubled start last time, but I kind of want to see him gallop out a little bit better and kind of go with Cyclone State after the wire, after blowing the start last time, and he just didn't. So I think Cyclone State's probably better than him coming right back again. I don't have a great opinion of this race either, and when that's the case and it's a short price probably of Studley Do Right, he's not going to be something to 5, but he's probably going to be 2-1, 5-2. I don't know. Not a great gambling race, not something I'm going to get super interested in, but that's our look at the Jerome Stakes on Saturday at Aqueduct. Let's change gears now from the Big A, and we'll head south to Gulfstream Park. Speaking of I-95, we'll make the trek all the way south on 95 down to Hallandale, Florida, as the Mucho Macho Man Stakes and the Ginger Brew are co-featured on the card. They'll go back-to-back in races 10 and 11 from a gambling standpoint. Might be a good chance to look at a daily double, pairing up winners here in the 10th and 11th. Let's start with the Mucho Macho Man. This is named for the 2013 Breeders' Cup Classic winner, of course, Kathy Ritvo trained. Mucho Macho Man, 2-time winner of the Sunshine Millions Classic at Gulfstream, also the winner of the Gulfstream Park Handicap. Hence, he gets a race named for him in Hallandale Beach. Mucho Macho Man kicks off the Florida Derby Series, but unlike the Holy Bull and the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby, this is just a one-turn race, Jeff, one-turn mile. What might we expect from this year's edition?
Well, this is a really good spot for Guns Loaded because he gets a chance for another one-turn race prior to stretching out, which I'm sure he'll do next time. This is a colt that was beaten in his debut in a hot race, came back, and this is what I look for, as I stated many times. I want to see the second start, and I want to see some progression. And after finishing second, beaten 5 lengths in that race while well clear of the rest, he took that race, went to Churchill. That race was at Saratoga, went to Churchill and really crushed in that day and earned a buyer number 10 points better. So he made that required step forward. He did it the right way. He showed very good speed and then found something extra in the final stages and really looked like a racehorse. And being by Gun Runner out of a mare by Bernardini, you'd expect that he'll continue to improve not only with age but with distance. So the rail doesn't bother me that much. He's pretty quick. And even if he doesn't make the lead, I think, and he may not, but even if he doesn't, I don't think it's going to impact him. I think he'll just sit right close to the pace. First quarter of a mile shouldn't be as intense as it was at Churchill because of that long run from the starting gate to the far turn. And I think he's going to produce a significant forward move here. He's 5-2 in the morning line. I think he might be a little lower than that. I'll check the tote and see if he's worth a play. You've got that undefeated Septarian coming in from Charlestown and Laurel with numbers that are okay. And he could be decent as well, but for Chad Brown now, and I do think that he's the one to fear most. But I've seen Guns Loaded's race on video. I liked it, and I was impressed. I think he's got a chance to be a good colt.
He is stepping up out of the maiden ranks, but when you look at the competition in this race, there's not a lot of stakes quality already showing. This is about a race of horses who are trying to prove their worth. We do have Naughty Rascal, who certainly was one of the better 2-year-olds in South Florida throughout the summer and fall last year. He won the Armed Forces Stakes. He also won the Proud Band. Went over to Tampa, ran a good second. Not went over to Tampa, but he's based at Tampa this time of year for Gerald Bennett. Ran second in that race. Instead of awaiting the Sam F. Davis in about a month's time, they're running now. So maybe they just want to go with a hot hand with Naughty Rascal. He's in pretty good form right now. And he was a win early 2-year-old going back to the summer and has run all the way through the fall. Maybe they're just trying to get when the getting's good with Naughty Rascal and not really looking at the Tampa Bay Derby Trail right now after that good second in the inaugural. One-turn race here, the Mucho Macho Man Stakes. Hasn't had a major impact on the Triple Crown Trail in recent years, but Simplification and some others have come out of this race to do something to make it along the trail to the Kentucky Derby. So we shall see what we get out of this race. Code of Honor came out of this race, ran second in the Derby several years back, 2019, I believe. So the Mucho Macho Man, first leg of the Florida Derby Series. That'll be race number 10. Jeff and I are both on Guns Loaded. I'm totally with you here. I thought he had the most brilliant race of the bunch. He's by Gun Runner out of Bernardini Mare. He's actually outrunning his pedigree this early. He shouldn't be that fast in sprint races. The farther they go and the longer his career progresses, he should get better, actually. So I think Guns Loaded is a real prospect, one to watch there in race number 10. That's the Mucho Macho Man. We turn the page literally to the 11th at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, where the Ginger Brew Stakes is our Express Bet race of the week. You can get my full write-up on that on the Express Bet email newsletter sent out each week. Be sure to sign up for the email newsletter, Express Bet, and also at First Bet. The Ginger Brew Stakes, Jeff made this the race of the week because we've got a good gambling opportunity here. 12-horse field, 13 with the also eligibles. There are a couple of horses who are cross-centered in an allowance race on Sunday at Gulfstream that may opt to go in that Tapeta race. Even if all three come out, we still got a field of 10, but you imagine this is going to go with nearly a capacity field. 2-turn mile here in the Ginger Brew. Who do you like?
Well, I don't know. This might be one of the better maiden 3-year-old fillies in the country right now, even though, again, she's a maiden. But I like her to win the stakes. So I'm talking about number 10, Nitrogen. And, of course, it's just a matter of how much progress she's made since when we last saw her in November. She's been off a couple of months. Chance to grow up a little bit, but the Oscar performances, the offspring have gotten better with age, and I think Nitrogen will as well. She's run 3 good races, even though she is a maiden, beaten the neck in her debut in a maiden race at Woodbine, then came back and was beaten less than a length in the Natama. That's a grade 1 race at Canada. And then she ran at 50-1 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. I thought they were reaching a little bit here, but I mean, she really ran well. And while in her first 2 races, she was right up near the pace, somehow she managed to be way out of it at the top of the stretch. And at the 8th pole, according to the chart, she was 11th, yet she was only beaten 2.5 lengths, finishing 3rd fastest of all in a race won by Lake Victoria, who's one of the best 2-year-old fillies at the time in the entire world. So I thought that was good. Her numbers, again, continue to rise. Now she's had some time off. As a bullet work recently that showed me that she's fit and ready to resume her career for Mark Cassidy. I think she's got a chance to really develop, especially being by Medaglia d'Oro. And I think she'll pick up where she left off. And if she runs back to her Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies race, she'll outclass this field, I would think. And at 5-2 on the morning line, if you can get it, I think there's a gamble there.
Let's take a look back at that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. She's in the maroon, number 2 in the saddlecloth, making a rally late. She's not going to get much of a call, but you can check it out for yourself here. Keep an eye on the maroon silk.
To catch. Around the far turn they go. Thought Process the leader. Kilwin continues to bear down. Lake Victoria's got her room now. And here she comes as she swings up on the outside. And they're into the stretch. Thought Process bracing for the challenge of Lake Victoria. And Lake Victoria goes right by to take the lead. Fiery Lucy is coming late with Mayday ready, but she's just too good. Lake Victoria, undefeated, has won the Breeders' Cup. It was Lake Victoria over.
And you mentioned Lake Victoria, one of the best 2-year-old fillies in the world, obviously at that time. One of the best 2-year-old fillies to come over for a Breeders' Cup race here, maybe ever. I mean, she really had the credentials from Europe. That was a good addition of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, and a good third in there from Nitrogen. I took a shot in here in the race of the week with Good Long Cry, Jeff. I know the 12-hole may seem like a bad post going to Turf Mile, but this horse has speed. There's not a ton of speed in the race, and you're going to have to use it from that post. So you're not going to try to choke this one down and take away her best weapon. Last time out, she got near the front, just drew off and won easily at 1 mile and a 16th. Yes, it took 6 tries to break her maiden after 4 second-place finishes. But whether I'm handicapping a big stakes horse or a claimer, I call it the nibbler breaks out. When a horse is just kind of close, and they finally break through. And when they do win, they win by daylight. I just love that. And those horses often come back and repeat and win again. Everything just seems to come together for them. The light bulb comes on, if you will. I think she's got a chance to be nice. Good long cry from the outside post. My friend Al Samaglia does our harness videos for us. He always says in harness racing, when a horse draws the 8, which is the wide draw, he'll say the post makes the price. And I think there'll be enough people afraid of the 12-hole in here that'll help the price a bit on the horse. So if you like Good Long Cry, the outside draw with her speed, I don't think it's going to be a bad thing, and the post might actually help the price in this case. So I'm going to take a shot in here with her.
It might actually help her, because now if they let her run out of there, even if she doesn't make the lead, she's going to be sitting outside in hand, nobody on the outside of her, stalking and then moving when she wants to move, as she did in her maiden win. She's a comer for sure. I don't know whether she's got the upside of Nitrogen, but maybe she does. And that's what the gamble's about. If you're talking about 8-1, why not?
All right, that's a look at the Mucho Macho Man and the Ginger Brew from Gulfstream Park. We're going to switch gears and switch venues now to Oaklawn Park, where a pair of stakes races are co-featured on the Saturday card. They will go as races 7 and 9 on the program. Race 7, the Mockingbird, 150 grander for 3-year-old filly sprinters on 6 furlongs. Maybe the start to the Fantasy Stakes path there. And the start to the Arkansas Derby gets in earnest with the $250,000 Smarty Jones at 1 mile and a 16th. We'll look at those two races right now. The 7th on the card, the Mockingbird, named for the state bird of Arkansas. The Mockingbird Stakes, a 6-furlong sprint in this one. Jeff, who do you like amongst these sophomore ladies?
Well, I ended up trying to beat the 4-5 morning line favorite, and she probably will be that short. We're talking about She's So Spicy. This is a filly that it tracks, and he's not there to ride her, but he will ride, obviously. Flavian Pratt will be aboard. She won her debut like a world beater by 16, and then came back as the favorite in the stakes race at Churchill. That was back in November, and she got beat, didn't change leads. The buyer number that she earned, 78, is solid but not spectacular. And then I looked at, on the outside, Chatter, who is 9-2, who's just as fast on numbers. In fact, she made a massive forward move between her first and second start. First race in the slop. Obviously, I can toss that race out. She came back, and there's a word I like to use called moxie, and that is, I mean, when I use the word moxie, I kind of envision a filly who is wise beyond her years, if you know what I mean. I mean, she only had the one start, but she won like a real pro. She earned a good number. She took heat. She found extra. Now I expect her to step forward again. Outside draw allows her to dictate her own pace. Maybe she'll sit behind She's So Spicy and then go after her, which I think she's capable of doing. Promising filly, and same rider rides aboard, Vasquez. So I like Chatter to pull off a mild surprise here. Keep her that leader in sight, and hopefully go by her late.
Let's take a look back to her win at Keeneland on October 24th. Ramon Vasquez aboard that day. He's back again.
He's trying to kick in down toward the rail, but is still third. It is Chatter with the lead, and Tickin' Time Blonde there on the outside to challenge. Sycamore Shoals is still third, 2 lengths off the lead. Then a gap of 4 more back to Mindy's Union. Chatter in front, final furlong. Chased all the way by Tickin' Time Blonde, Sycamore Shoals. Chatter in front. It is Chatter coming to the line, and Chatter wins it. It's going to be a head bob to decide runner-up. Either
Chatter, Jeff top pick in there over who the likely heavy favorite. She's So Spicy for a Jose D'Angelo barn based at Gulfstream Park. But he's got horses all over the country. Very national weekend for D'Angelo this particular weekend. Keep an eye on here, I think, on Clapping Trees, another one to watch in here for Todd Fincher. There's not a lot of big barn influence, I say, in this stakes race. You're not seeing a lot of the big national names in terms of stables here, but Fincher, very, very good regional trainer. He thought enough of this filly to send her to Del Mar amongst his string instead of debuting in New Mexico, where he is most of the year. I thought that was a good sign. She comes off a second in the Zia Princess Stakes out there in New Mexico. Clapping Trees might be pretty good. She's a practical joke filly. She strikes me as one who's going to fit at this level against these kind of runners. Junior Alvarado in town to ride. He'll pick up the mount in there. So I'll take Clapping Trees in there along with She's So Spicy and Chatter as the top three to watch in the Mockingbird Stakes. Let's go to the 9th race Saturday at Oaklawn Park. It's the $250,000 Smarty Jones. Amongst the Triple Crown prep races, if you will, the 3-year-old stakes races of the weekend, it's the largest purse at $250,000. This is just a listed race. Of course, the Smarty Jones, named for the 2004 star winner of the Kentucky Derby and Preakness Stakes, near Triple Crown winner. He's named for this race at Oaklawn Park, Jeff, because back in 2004, it was the centennial season at Oaklawn Park, the 100th anniversary, and the owner of the track, Charles Sella, put up $5 million for any horse who could win the first leg of the series, the Southwest, the Rebel, the Arkansas Derby, and then win the Kentucky Derby. He probably thought his money was pretty safe. And then came Smarty Jones, sweeping all 4 of those races, and of course added the 5th in the Preakness before he was finally defeated. But Smarty Jones, my favorite horse of the modern era, without question, being a Pennsylvania guy and getting to cover his races. Actually got to go cover his big workout at Philly Park, now Parks, before the Belmont Stakes. There were about 15,000 people on track in the morning on a weekday just to watch him train. He had police escorts going up and down the highway. Really an amazing horse. And the Smarty Jones Stakes not only celebrated here at Oaklawn, but he's got to race the Smarty Jones for 3-year-olds at Parks as well, as you would expect. That comes up in September. So this is a fun race for me. Historically, do we have any horses in here we might be talking about, though, when it comes to Arkansas Derby time?
Maybe. You never know. I mean, I remember Smarty Jones was so popular that he actually entered the mainstream media, so much so that during the NBA draft that year, one of the team's general managers was up on the stage there and hoping to get the number 1 pick. As a good luck charm, secured a horseshoe from Smarty Jones. So, and everybody was thinking, well, that'll cinch it because he's such a popular horse, and you don't get many horses like that even non-racing fans can identify with. Well, unfortunately, whoever that general manager was and whatever team that was, they didn't win the lottery. I don't remember.
Yeah, Smarting's Belmont lot.
I don't remember who they ended up picking, but maybe it ended up with good luck anyway. But Smarty Jones was just. I don't think I've ever been more disappointed with a horse losing, other than my own, when he got beat in the Belmont. I was just mad that day. I mean,
I was in attendance. I was working for NBC at the time, and I actually have the souvenirs somewhere. I'll have to pull them out sometime. But I've got the hat that says Smarty Jones Triple Crown winner and the T-shirt that says Smarty Jones Triple Crown winner. We were ready to break it out, and it was going to go on sale after they hit the wire, and it didn't happen. So I ended up walking out with the souvenir that never was in that event. 120,000 people. They now capped the attendance on Belmont Day at 50? I mean, and there were a legit 120,000 people there today. That day, the most incredible sports environment I've ever been a part of, and I've gone to a lot of big events over the years, but it was an amazing environment that day. We could talk hours on Smarty Jones. I could have a whole podcast on him, but let's get handicapping on the stakes race that bears his name. Look, this race has had some impact on the Triple Crown Trail in recent years, right? Mystic Dan was 5th in this race last year, went on to win the Derby. Brad Cox has been here the last couple of years with horses that have come right back and run well in the Derby that same spring. Catching Freedom, Angel of Empire. These are horses top 3, top 4 finishers in multiple Triple Crown races. And again, last year's Derby winner, Mystic Dan. So it's not too early to think Oaklawn might have something. And there is one horse in here who I think has a little bit of that look, and that's Hot Property. I know you and I both talked about him a little bit on our Tuesday podcast on It's Official. What do you make of Hot Property in this spot, and Smarty Jones, as he makes his stakes debut?
He's got a chance. I mean, he really does. He won his debut over a distance to ground, which is never an easy thing to do. He did it stylishly. He did it with a very solid 84 bar number. He reached back for something extra and was able to win this race in good style. Now he's doing his best, but again, this is the kind of colt that you'd expect to step forward, especially being by Medaglia d'Oro out of a mare by Milwaukee Brew. Milwaukee, a two-time winner of the Big Cap. So that's stamina on stamina, and yet he did show good speed in his debut. He won't be in front in this race, so I'm sure Kale's Angel from the rail coming out of a sprint win for Peter Miller. I think he'll bust out and go from the rail. But now Hot Property gets a chance to stalk, pounce, and go and show that he can do that. And if he can do that in a level like this, right in the stakes competition for Brad Cox, then you've got a serious prospect. So I'm expecting him to do that. And I also think that maybe Brad does too, because he gets Flavien Prat to miss the big Saturday card just to ride this colt, to test, kind of a test run type of thing. And Pratt is impressed with Hot Property, and if he runs up to expectations, then he's got a legitimate possibility to be a Triple Crown type of horse. And that's what he's looking for. And I'm sure he wouldn't be there unless Cox has talked him into thinking that this might be the one. So for me, Hot Property over the loose on the lead Kale's Angel, who is obviously a better horse on dirt than he was on grass here in California. It's a better than average edition of the Smarty Jones, I think. We'll see how it turns out, but I'm very eager to see how good and how much progress Hot Property makes off his maiden win.
Mo Quality was the winner last time out at Churchill Downs. Prior to that, we've already seen him on the podcast. He was second to the aforementioned Touchy, the horse that Jeff was talking about. Or we've got Touchy still to come on the podcast. We haven't seen that video yet. But he's going to run against a horse who's coming up in the Turfway preview named Touchy. Could give us a little bit of a, measuring stick on that runner as we get to the evening at Turfway. The Smarty Jones will go before that, but you'll get a chance to see Mo Quality in action running second to Touchy here in just a little bit. This field also includes Cole Battle, winner of back-to-back stakes races at Remington and at Delta Downs, the Jean Lafitte and the Springboard Mile most recently. He's been the two turns around, on the dirt, around two turns at the mile trip. So Cole Battle should be, battle tested for this kind of race. Springboard Mile horses haven't had a lot of success in the Smarty Jones, though, coming back in their history. So we're going to make that one, see if Delani Bradley the trainee can do it again. But Cole Battle certainly has credentials already with the two-time stakes wins in the region.
He does. He earned an 84 buyer number, the same exact buyer number that Hot Property earned. The difference being Hot Property did it in his debut. Cole Battle's had 5 chances, but he's won 3 races. And he's not a speed horse. He'll drop over, and if there's some pressure up front, Cole Battle should have a chance to make a run for it. He's no long shot. He's 9-2 in the morning line, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs. This is a really interesting race. You got horses coming from everywhere, and jockeys coming from everywhere. So it's a good race. It's one worth watching for sure.
That Flavien Prat presence on Hot Property is really notable. I know we talked about that earlier in the week, but Prat had his pick of the litter in stakes races last year, to the point that he set an all-time single season record for most stakes wins in a year, most graded stakes wins in a year. You do that by being selective where you're going, and you're not passing up opportunities somewhere else just for the heck of it. And so for Flavien Prat to start 2025, traveling for Brad Cox to Oaklawn, where he only rides if it's a big day, that's pretty. I think that's pretty notable for a $250,000 for him to ship in here. We'll see what Hot Property has. I actually kept him in the top 10. I've got him number 10 in my countdown to the crown preseason rankings. They came out today, of course, with the first edition for the year. We're just going off speculation at this point, but I think he's got a chance to be a good one. We'll see, win, lose, or draw on Saturday. But if you think he's going to be a Triple Crown prospect, he's got to run first or a really good second in this race to kind of cement himself as one of the better horses in that part of the country. Let's go now from Oaklawn Park to Santa Anita, where we've got a couple stakes races on the Saturday card. San Vicente for this group of 3-year-old 3-year-old colts, grade 2. The only graded stakes amongst the Triple Crown preps this weekend. No Kentucky Derby points on the line, though, because it's a 7-furlong sprint. Only route races get Kentucky Derby qualifying points. Las Flores will go as race number 9. So stakes races 5 and 9 on the Saturday card at Santa Anita. And again, remind you, we got that $2 million first rewards points hit and split on the late pick 4 Saturday at Santa Anita. So if you're playing the card at the Great Race Place on Saturday, be sure to do it with First Bet and Express Bet and nail down that late pick 4 for your share of $2 million first rewards points. Now, the San Vicente Stakes, this is a race over the years. Bob Baffert has dominated. He's won it, I believe, 12 times with horses like Silver Charm, who went on to be Triple Crown type horses, and other horses who weren't heard from much again or became sprinters. So just because you win this race doesn't necessarily set you up for greatness, but it certainly can. A couple of years ago, we saw Nyquist, an exaggerator, come out of this race. The San Vicente certainly can be a launching pad, even though it's 7 furlongs. Jeff, we've got a field of 5 this year. Baffert, we mentioned, a 12-time winner of the race. He's got 2 in here, and you have to consider the Bafferts, Barnes, and Romanesque as major players amongst this field of 5. But you and I both agree that a horse named Bullard is actually the horse to beat, and he's not a Baffert.
He is the horse to beat based on the fact that he's got a maiden win and a graded stakes win at this 7 furlong distance. But what we don't know is how much progress Barnes is going to make, and he'll have to make a lot, because this is what Bullard has done in the morning since that Bob Hope win at Del Mar in November. You can see him on the outside. You talk about a horse who's eager to get on with it. He's under a wraps here. Now, it's not a fast work, but you can see how eager and how sharp Bullard is in this team drill. He obviously, he could have gone in 46 if they turned him loose, but that wouldn't have served any purpose. You can see him just galloping. Ears are up. This is as slow as he can go. He's going to change leads right on cue here, which he did not do in his last race. So I think he's figuring that out. And again, he was not asked, or the instructions weren't to pulverize the workmate. Try to stay with him and just get a little, get something out of it without spending too much. And good rhythm, good stride, big, good-looking colt. This colt looks to me like one that's going to get nothing but better with age and maturity and distance and experience. Not only that, but he's got the lovely outside draw here, so he's not going to get any dirt in his face. Plus, he'll be able to move when he wants to move. I think Reese Bully will let him settle out of the gate, let the speed kick on. Got a long run from the 7/8 pole to the far turn to get into a position you want to be, and then you can cut loose at the far turn or midway in the far turn and go after the leaders. Now, Barnes did everything wrong, I thought, in his debut, and he still won, and that was going 5.5 furlongs. He was down on the inside. He sucked back. He angled out. He drifted out. He didn't change leads until late, and he still won the race, and he did it with a strong number. And since then, he, like Bullard, has looked very good in the morning, and he's going to produce a forward move. How much so? That remains to be seen. Even Romanesque, I thought, looked good in his maiden win. He did well with a good number. Bob Baffert's other horse. So I don't know if there's a gamble here, but there sure is a lot of interest for those of us who like the 3-year-old division and want to see progress. And one thing I do know, whether it's Barnes or Bullard, and I made Bullard the 4-5 morning line favorite because he's a little bit more safe in terms of proven commodity. But you're going to have to be a really good colt to win this race. I mean, no matter who wins it, and Smooth Cruising In is an undefeated colt, and McKenzie Street, he's grade 1 place. That rounds out the lot. Jeremy, do you're like me though? I think you look at Bullard and you figure maybe he's the now horse. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and look, the way he finished up those last couple are really good. I mean, the horse he ran by and drew off by 4 in the Bob Hope was Matticat Road, who came back here opening day and looked like Bob Baffert's top 2 or 3 prospect. I mean, for what we've seen so far from the Bafferts. And Baffert won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and ran 1-2-4 in the Juvenile. And I think Matticat Road is one of those kind of up at the top tier of his horses. And this is a horse who Bullard Road ran by last time. Look, it's still 7/8 of a mile. And you look at the pedigree, he's by Gun Runner. The Warrior's Reward, Mary, you might say Warrior's Reward, you're thinking short. But if you go back in that female family, it's a couple generations back. It's blushed with pride. It's better with honor. This is like one of the most regal damsels side route pedigrees you've ever seen. Rags to Riches, Jazzle, Casino Drive, that whole big group that came out of Better Than Honor, of course, Blush with Pride, a Kentucky Oaks winner. There is a lot of stamina on the dam side of this pedigree. I know if you just look at the dam side and you say Warriors Reward, you think, oh, this is going to be a closing sprinter after these two. I don't think so at all. And by Gun Runner, this one's only going to get better. So I like Bullard quite a bit. Look, I don't know about Barnes. I know what they talk, right? I mean, I know the $3.2 million is a lot to spend on any horse. There was a lot of talk going into the debut. Baffert wasn't going back to Churchill Downs for his first race in 3 years after the suspension to lose. He was taking a horse he thought he was definitely going to win with, you know. That was kind of a statement trip, I think, to Kentucky. And he was all out in that race to get by a decent horse, an Innovator, who'd done some decent things for Lucas. He did come back and break his maiden final Innovator in his 7th start the other day at Oaklawn Park. So he beat a decent horse at Churchill, and he got a good education in doing so. He could just make a huge leap forward in the 2nd start. I know you talk about that a lot, that 1st to 2nd start. And if Bullard does, or if Barnes does, then Bullard's going to be in for a major challenge, right? So like you said, it's going to take a really good horse to win this. I'll be very surprised if it's not one of those two. And if it's one of the other horses who happens to win this race, then they have really stepped up their game and are ones to talk about on the Santa Anita Derby Trail. So there's a lot of fun to come out of this race, and it's going to be a really exciting race to watch. From a gambling standpoint, I would think it's Bullard and Barnes and the others behind, but, you know, let's see. Let's run them and check it out. But I have a lot of respect for both of these horses. I think they are both legit top 10-ish contenders if you're putting a list together this time of year. I like Bullard a lot. I like Barnes as the potential. Let's find out. You know, I mean, this is the time to start the trail. You don't have to get your final decision on how good these horses are going to be by how they run in the San Vicente, but let's get started and get talking about them and see what we've got between those two, because I think they're very exciting prospects. Michael McCarthy with Bullard, that might not even be the best 3-year-old in his barn. Journalism is the horse I actually ranked number 1 to start the 2025 season. We saw him win the Los Al Futurity in commanding style. He looks like he'll run all day. Could be a great year for Michael McCarthy, and it all gets started on Saturday there at Santa Anita. Let's go to the 9th race at the Great Race Place Saturday. It's the Grade 3 Las Flores Stakes. Las Flores, named for the city, midway between Santa Anita and Del Mar, if you will, if you're heading south. Jeff's passed through Las Flores probably 8,000 times in his lifetime, heading down Del Mar way. What do you make of this sprint for the older fillies and mares?
Well, obviously it's Baffert's to win or lose. He's got the 2 favorites, and I made Pleasant 3-5, and then Ricci 8-5, and everybody else is double digits. So it's basically a match race. And I'm curious if Bob's going to try to orchestrate this race, because they both are fast. I think Pleasant is probably quicker of the two, but I don't think they're going to take Ricci back. Pleasant, of course, ran so well in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and that was her first race ever in a stakes race. I was very surprised but impressed that Bob would put her in a race like that because of her lack of experience, and she ran lights out, almost won the thing.
Yep.
Ricci was a very good second in the Desert Stormer last summer. Stopped on then, but she's come back and trained even better, and she's trained just as well as Pleasant. And she's a Group 1 winner down in Chile, whatever that means. But she's got some back quality. She's by Practical Joke, so even though she's a Chilean bred, we think of her as an American. This is going to be a interstable war here between these two. I ended up picking Pleasanton slightly over Ricci, but the way Ricci's been breezing, I wouldn't be surprised if Ricci could rise to the occasion and not only give her a run for the money, the favorite, but maybe even beat her. So another race where I don't really have a great opinion. There's no money, there's no price involved here one way or the other. I'll watch the race from a fan standpoint, but these two could meet again down the road somewhere, and maybe even on Breeders' Cup Day, way down the road, 11 months from now.
Pleasant, the favorite, hasn't yet won a stakes race, but she almost did in the Breeders' Cup, as you mentioned. Let's go back and take a look. Look for the filly with the navy cap and the white blaze.
One Magic filly. Vaba's got a lot of work to do. Sullivan Angel is passing horses on the far outside, and they're into the stretch. And here's Scylla. Scylla takes the lead on the outside. Pleasant goes with her. Ways and Means in Society. Soul of an Angel on the far outside. And One Magic Filly. Oh, it's wide open. They're coming down to the finish. Who's it going to be? It's Soul of an Angel in a huge upset in the Filly and Mare Sprint.
5 on the wire in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. That was a wide open race, and it certainly played out that way. Let's go from Santa Anita, the 9th race on Saturday, to Turfway Park Saturday night for the Turfway preview. It's race number 6 on the card. It'll be the first race in the Jeff Ruby series. That race, the Jeff Ruby mile and an eighth. This one just 6.5 furlongs. Touchy start from the rail, and we'll take a look at Touchy's maiden breaking win, a horse who hit the board in the Tremont Stakes, 4th in the Saratoga Special, got over the top and broke the maiden last time out at Keeneland for trainer Wesley Ward. Jeff, you think Keeneland, Wesley Ward sprint winner? You're not talking about a horse who's got, Triple Crown type aspirations, but this is a horse by Nyquist out of a really strong dam side female family with route influences. There's a chance this one, Touchy, could go long.
Not only that, but what impresses me about Touchy not only is his form, but he's been favored in some salty races in all 3 of his starts. I mean, he's always well liked. 4 to 5 in his debut, got beat that day by our good friend Studley Do Right, and then left that form behind eventually, but then was 4th as the favorite in the Saratoga Special, and then most recently went to Keeneland. And I thought won cleverly. And I also thought he won like a horse that'll run a distance of ground. Now, this race is still 6.5, so he doesn't have to do that yet. But he's been training at Turfway. And so I'm fairly confident that Wesley is satisfied with the way he's been going. He's going to have to try on all weather for the first time. But I think he probably feels that he'll handle the track. He has to handle the rail, but not that concerned. There's no kickback there. I think if he just breaks running, he'll settle somewhere in the mid-pack and then kick on with it, as he did when he broke his maiden at Keeneland, I thought, very stylishly.
Joel Rosario named at Turfway on a Saturday night in the middle of the winter. So that tells you a little something if he stays and rides, if he's aboard this one. We often see that with Wesley Ward trainees. He'll name a rider, though, who's not intending to be there. But again, if Joel Rosario shows up to ride Touchy, I think that's a pretty good sign. Also, again, a barometer that we can get on Touchy, Mo Quality, the horse that we talked about earlier, he's running in the Smarty Jones Stakes. He comes out of a second-place finish that you're going to see now at Keeneland. Here's Touchy winning his 3rd career start.
Turn. Tartarian 2nd. Campaign Trail is taking aim from the outside, but is still 3rd. Can Do Andrew is there fighting on between horses. Touchy has a 3-length lead into the final furlong, and then Campaign Trail. Mo Quality runs late, way out on the grandstand side, but Touchy 5 lengths to the good now, and Touchy to win it for Joel Rosario. Mo Quality will be up for 2nd. Campaign Trail was across the line in 3rd, followed by Tartarian.
And we talked about this horse having a good pedigree, Touchy, for the distances. The dam side includes Summerly, Kentucky Oaks winner. So again, this is a pretty well-bred runner by Nyquist out of a female family that includes Summerly. I thought in here the horse who's got speed, it might be the 6.5 furlong horse to watch in here, was right next door. Star's Image to 2, very fast in 2 turf sprints at Fairgrounds for trainer Larry Ravelli. Of course, Ravelli a couple years ago had 2 fills down at Fairgrounds, came through this path at Turfway, and ended up running 2nd in the Kentucky Derby. I don't know that Star's Image is a Kentucky Derby runner-up, but I think this is a horse who could be Mr. Now on Saturday night at Turfway. Gerardo Corrales, really good local jockey there at Turfway Park. Good getting him out of the gate. I think they got to catch Star's Image. I think he's going to break on top and try to improve the position from there. We'll see him coming out of those 5.5 furlong turf sprints at Fairgrounds, stretching out an extra 1/8 of a mile here to 6.5. But Ravelli, high percentage trainer, he gets a top jockey locally in Corrales. I think that's a good combination there. So I think Star's Image, Touchy, obviously the most interesting horse and probably the most talented horse in the race. But maybe the fastest will be Star's Image. I'll try to beat him with him.
Well, Star's Image, one quick note about him is that he's actually faster in both of his races, according to the Beyer numbers, than any one of the 3 that Touchy ran. So he's got that going for him. And even though he's trying an all-weather surface, and again, being by Caravaggio, you figured he'd be better on grass. So we'll have to see whether he can transfer that form. But they usually do. And you're right. He could open up and never look back. Because I've watched Touchy, and he's not a quick action colt. He's more of a methodical runner, which is why I think he'll run long. But if he has to accelerate from the top of the stitch to the wire and Star's Image is loose on the lead, that might be a good tough task for him. And the one thing that you notice about Star Image, he won his last race by a length and a half, but look how far ahead the second horse was to the third horse. So it was a good race. And you got something there, Jeremy. I mean, not to me, those are the two. I have a preference to Touchy because I have partial to Nyquist. But if Star Image wires the field, I won't be surprised.
That's going to wrap up our handicapping of the stakes races for Saturday. We're starting early in the day and going all the way through the nighttime card there with the 6th at Turfway, the Turfway preview. Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday next week as we have the It's Official podcast each and every week, taking on 5 hot topics in racing. You can be sure we're going to be talking about some of these major 3-year-olds who are starting early in the campaign here this weekend. And Jeff's new feature, the Goosebump Award, who's going to get him excited? Who's going to give him goosebumps this weekend? Be sure to tune in Tuesday to find out which horse did that in our new segment on It's Official. Jeff, a good weekend of football still to come. We had some college football playoffs in the rearview mirror last night, some good college basketball, a lot of great horse racing around the country. So fun weekend to come. Hope you have a good weekend.
Yeah, it will be on all fronts for sure. Talking about the Goosebump Award, we've got several candidates here. Some weeks it might be a little lean, but I think we'll see at least one, maybe more. You never know among these promising 3-year-olds, these newly turned 3-year-olds. So if the gambling isn't quite there, the interest in the sport certainly is. I'll be watching all of these races, and there's a few that I might dive in as well. So good luck. And want a quick reminder that I'll have my full card analysis from Santa Anita on Express Bet, so check that out. It'll be up. It usually shows up somewhere late at night or early in the morning, so it's always free. And so far, so good. So good luck, and let's make some money.
All right, good luck today on Friday playing that Santa Anita card. Jeff's analysis is up there now, so go check it out for the Friday action. On behalf of everybody with First and my partner Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Have a great weekend. Talk to you Tuesday.